Hi again. At risk of this seeming like a little bit of a history lesson, in the forces we used to be given the equivalent of, I've got a little piece here, which is a little solid fuel block that came in a pack along with a little metal support that you burnt to heat up your food. And the reason I mention that is because I then moved on to using one of these. Now this is a newer version. The version I used to use when I was a young and innocent Marine, Royal Marine, was painted in camouflage paint and textured so that it was hard to spot and not shiny at all. But that I discovered these back in, they were widely available in the 70s, and the reason I liked it and why I've favoured it ever since was because they run on petrol, but they're potentially dangerous, which is why I'm not even sure if they sell them anywhere. It comes with a little windshield that packs into that is actually a vessel, like a mess tin with a handle on it, for making a meal or just heating up whatever you want to heat up. When I purchased, I was impressed by how compact it was as a little cooker. Now, yeah, has been used for years. There is no fuel in it, so this is unleaded petrol. Let's give it a little bit of a go. But the thing with these cookers is that they're not self-priming. There's no pump. It's a brass cylinder, which, and I'm spilling petrol as I speak, which is not that safe. I'm just going to discreetly dispose of that fuel excess. And it's worth noting that this really is an outdoor. This is an outdoor solution, and I'm recording this in a concrete garage, albeit that it does have a timber roof. But I've got a fire extinguisher in the van should it come to it, because after the length of time that I've since I last used it, I have no idea how it's going to work. The reason I mentioned these little solid fuel pellets is because I'm not even sure that these are available anymore. And the reason I use them is to you have to preheat the fuel in the reservoir and you do that rather than pump it to get pressure to encourage it to come feed through to the burner. In these devices, it's done by, underneath it lighter, it's done by warming the cooker up, which in turn heats the fuel up, which it causes it to expand in this brass and come through the burner. It's a bit crude, but hopefully it'll work. So let's get a lighter. So the remnants of that fuel that spilled on the inside when I was filling the reservoir, and these little solid fuel pellets that are burning now are warming up the fuel through the feed pipe and warming up through this minimal heat shield the reservoir, and given that I've filled it up pretty full, if I give it a minute to catch, it should start to expand. There's no point in lighting it until the fuel's warm enough to start vaporizing. I'll maybe fast forward this little bit, but it doesn't take very long. There we go. Away it goes. Now, to me, the beauty of this particular stove is the fact that it's running on petrol. Now, when I was in the forces, I've actually run it after aft gas, which is it was helicopter fuel that I managed to get a hold of a small quantity of for a brief, and that really was, it quite literally used to burn like a rocket whenever I managed to get a hold of any of that. But the thing being that you can't always get gas canisters when you're out travelling. If you really are out in the wilds being remote, then something that will run off a readily available fuel source is like petrol is to be desired. Now I'll open this up a little bit more. No, closing it down. Now it's not even burning very evenly. I suspect there's a jet blocked, but if I wind it back down and back up, it should. It has a needle that pierces and cleans the fuel outlet hole, and it should clear that. Oh no, it's starting to clear up. There we go. And after you've used the key, because it's metal, to adjust the flame, it's worth removing it because it gets bloody hot. Let's just see how long it takes to boil a cup of tea. So it's quite noisy when it gets going. So you can tell by the flame that that's a pretty good burning flame when it's turned up. And the reason it gets hotter and more efficient the longer it burns, because this cylinder is now very warm to the touch here. But it does have a pressure release valve at the top in the event that the pressure gets too high. The pressure, you know, when I was burning aviation fuel in it, it did get too hot, and I had something like a 3 or 4 foot flame ejecting out of this, which is why it's definitely an outdoor stove for anybody who's interested for really wild camping, where you don't have to rely on finding a supply of gas cylinders when you're out and about. It packs up really compact once you get it going using something like the equivalent of these solid fuel pellets, which will light even when they're a bit damp. It's pretty, yeah. I did well out of it in my good few years in the forces. Why am I labouring this? Because I can't use it in the camper van. The reason I'm labouring it is that's great for one-man band, but if you're really going camping with a family, then you want the 2-burner equivalent, which is what we used for many years as a family out camping. And this is a Coleman Duel Fuel. It says, I think that just means it runs on a specialist camping liquid fuel. In America, possibly, I have no idea, but in the UK. But it also runs on petrol, and that, in effect, you've got a bigger version here of what's in the little one. The difference being, you can pump it. You pump it to pressurize it, and rather than heating it up, so it's safer. And this, we've had it for years and years and years. And this is what I'm going to be using at the back of the van in a module, a pull-out cook module. When I finished sorting out the design for the beds and other things, that by the way, is if you're ever feel you can't go camping without your toast, then get some fine steel mesh, fold it over a couple of times, and put that on top of your burner, and it glows. It glows and spreads the heat over that surface area well enough to make pretty decent toast. So that's Coleman Duel Fuel. We'll do something more at length in that another time. On that note, I'm going to finish making my tea, and we'll catch up with the next one. Cheers.